let's talk about COVID Amnesty. Oh, buddy. Yes, we're going to do it. So this was the Atlantic article that came out a while back. It came out on Halloween, which was fantastic. And I was going to do the beer show on it last week, but obviously I was dying, so we did not do that.
You were dying.
So now we get to do it together.
Didn't have any power.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Well, again, no power. Do I even exist if I don't have power?
Right.
You know, does it even happen? So this was
Poppy's awake, but isn't around to tweet about it.
Exactly. Does it even happen? Probably not. Oy. Although I need to step up my Twitter game again. Twitter's a weird place. I can't wait to talk about it because it's even more weird now. So anyways, we're going to go through this. This was put out by Emily Oster, who, from the mouths of John Podhorns on the Commentary Magazine podcast, he says that generally speaking, she's been like pretty decent in the past. He's a Manhattan guy, so he's like big into all the magazines, if you will. Because during his day, there were legit magazines that you got in your mailbox.
Right.
But he was very surprised that she had wrote this thing, and then they tore it apart just like everybody else did. So we're gonna read this, and then I want statements. We'll take pauses and stuff like that. It's a pretty short little deal. So, in April 2020, with nothing else to do, my family took an enormous number of hikes. We all wore cloth masks, and I had made myself. We had a family hand signal, which the person in the front would use if someone was approaching on the trail, and we needed to put on our masks. Once when another child got too close to my then 4-year-old son on a bridge, he yelled at her, "Social distancing." These precautions.
Your child yelled at a person?
Yeah, social distancing. Yeah, her then 4-year-old child yelled at another kid, social distancing, as they walked across the bridge.
You brainwashed your fucking 4-year-old?
That's exactly what happened, yes. These precautions were totally misguided. In April 2020, no one got the coronavirus from passing someone else hiking. Outdoor transmission was vanishingly rare. Our cloth mask made out of old bandanas...
It didn't exist. That's not real.
Did not exist. Our cloth mask made out of old bandanas wouldn't have done anything anyways. But the thing is, we didn't know. Some of us didn't know, apparently. I've been reflecting on this lack of knowledge thanks to a class I'm now teaching at Brown University on COVID.
Teaching a class about COVID?
At Brown University.
Why is she teaching a class
on
about
COVID?
COVID? What the fuck does that mean?
It's Brown University, bro. They just make shit up and go with it because you get a fucking
101?
Ivy League degree.
What does that even mean? Teaching a class on COVID. What the fuck are you? Are you a scientist or a journalist?
She says we've spent several lectures reliving the first year of the pandemic, discussing the many important choices we had to make under conditions of tremendous uncertainty. Some of these choices turned out better than others. To take an example close to my own words, or to my own work, there is an emerging, if not universal, consensus that schools in the U.S. were closed for too long. Really? Now it's emerging now. The health risks of in-school spread were relatively low, whereas the cost to students' well-being and education progress were high. The latest figures on learning loss are alarming, but in spring and summer of 2020, we had only glimmers of information. Reasonable people who cared about children and teachers, advocated on both sides of the reopening debate.
Yeah, I'm about to catch these fucking hands. What you're gonna do?
Another example. The vaccine came out. We lacked definitive data on the relative effects of the Johnson & Johnson shot versus the mRNA options from Pfizer and Moderna. The mRNA vaccine have won out, but at the time, many people in public health were either neutral or expressed a J&J preference. The misstep was nefarious. It was the result of uncertainty. Obviously, some people intended to mislead and made wildly irresponsible claims. Remember when the public health community had to... the fact that public health community exists as a terminology in your brain. Community had spent a lot of time and resources arguing Americans not to inject themselves with bleach. That was bad. Misinformation was and remains a huge problem. But most errors were made by people who were working in earnest for the good of society. Given the amount of uncertainty Almost every position was taken on every topic, and on every topic, someone was eventually proved right and someone else was proved wrong. In some instances, the right people were right for the wrong reasons. In other instances, they had some people were right for the right reasons. They had a percent understanding of the available information. The people who got it right, for whatever reason, may want to gloat. Those who got it wrong, for whatever reason, may feel defensive and retrench into a position that doesn't accord with the facts.
Do you know the closest thing anybody ever got to injecting themselves with bleach is when those two fucking idiots put fish tank cleaner and like drank that shit.
Well, first of all, I'm pretty sure that lady was just trying to kill her husband.
Is that what the deal is now?
I'm fairly sure that was how that worked out was like this lady was basically just trying to kill her husband.
Well,
trying to poison him.
Add it to the fucking list. That's the closest anybody got to inject themselves with bleach. Is a bitch trying to kill her husband.
Amen.
Because it was politically expedient at the time to use fish tank cleaner. What the fuck?
So all of this gloating and defensiveness continues to glob up a lot of social energy and to drive the culture wars, especially on the internet. These discussions are heated, unpleasant, and ultimately unproductive. In the face of so much uncertainty, getting something right had a hefty element of luck, and similarly, getting something wrong wasn't a moral failing. Treating pandemic choices as a scorecard on which some people racked up more points than others is preventing us from moving forward. We have to put these fights aside and declare a pandemic amnesty. We can leave out the willful. Go ahead.
The only reason in which these scorecards wouldn't matter is if you changed your fucking tune. If you realize that you're actually wrong, the reason it matters is because if something like this happens again and the government decides that they're going to turn authoritarian and you do the same boot-licking bullshit, that's why that matters.
Yes, 100%.
Get the fuck out of here. What a...
So we're just going to... This thing is so short.
Person.
This thing is so short. We're just going to finish it real quick, and then we could just destroy it as we go along because there's so much here. I could stop at every other sentence, but we have to put aside the fights and declare pandemic amnesty. We can leave out the willful purveyors of actual misinformation while forgiving the hard calls that people had no choice but to make with imperfect knowledge. Los Angeles County closed its beaches in summer of 2020. Ex post facto, this makes no more sense than my family masking hiking trips. But we need to learn from our mistakes and then let them go. We need to forgive the attacks too, because I thought schools should reopen and argued that kids as a group were at high risk. I was called a teacher killer and a genocidaire. Oh, because you identify as a woman apparently. What is a woman anyways? It wasn't pleasant, but feelings were high, and I certainly don't need to dissect and rehash the time of the rest of my days. Moving on is crucial now because the pandemic created many problems that we still need to solve. Students' test scores have shown historic declines, more so in math than in reading, and more so for students who were disadvantaged at the start. We need to collect data, experiment, and invest in high dosage tutoring more than less cost-effective and extended school years. Sorry, my fucking contacts are getting all foggy. My eyes are dry. Why have so many states recovered faster than others? We should focus on questions like these because answering them is how we will help our children recover. Many people have neglected their health care over the past several decades. Notably, routine vaccination rates for children for measles, pertussis, etc., are way down. Rather than debating the role that messaging about COVID vaccine had in this decline, we need to put all of our energy into bringing these rates back up. Pediatricians and healthcare officials will need to work together on community outreach, and politicians will need to consider a school mandates. The standard saying is that those who forget history are doomed to repeat it. But dwelling on the mistakes of history can lead to a repetitive doom loop as well. let's acknowledge that we made complicated choices in the face of deep uncertainty and then try to work together to build back and move forward. Tell me how you feel. Tell me how you feel, Donovan, about COVID amnesty.
Okay. So we talked earlier. There's a difference between acting on the information at the time and doing things that don't make any logical sense. Hiking outside never made logical sense. You were buying Democratic talking points. That's what you were doing. That never made any sense.
Yep. Who
Never
told
made
you
any
that?
sense.
The government.
That type of shit never made any sense ever. If you acted illogically and you attacked people, you do not deserve credit for that. You do not deserve just a
If you
blanket
taught your
forgiveness.
4-year-old to yell out,
Scream at
social distancing because somebody got too close to them, that is a you problem. You
know-
did that to your child. Society didn't do that. You did that to them because you lack critical thinking skills.
Do you know what we continue to tell Dax when we wore masks? This is a silly thing that we're doing. This is a silly thing that we're doing because there are rules that are set out that we didn't want to deal with at the time. After we had COVID, there was a change in mentality of like, this literally makes no sense anymore. We're not taking part in this.
Yeah.
Prior to that, we knew were getting kicked out of stores and shit like that. And it was a whole fucking deal here. Here was a whole deal here. That does not, and I still accept that I had the opportunity at that time to not do that, and I still was a choice that I made for, not because I believed it was making a difference, but because that is what we were being mandated to do at the time. You know, and it doesn't make it the right choice, but it is the choice that I made at the time, and I don't regret at a certain point not doing it anymore. And explaining to people anytime they asked, and smiling at people anytime they frowned at me and glared at me and tried to tell me that I was going to kill my son and that my family was going to die because we weren't going to vaccinate ourselves. And
You're a grandma killer.
I'm not gonna. I know specifically there is a person in Jordan's family, not like a blood family member, but a close family friend, who messaged me relentlessly one day on social media after I told her repeatedly, I will not talk to you about this over the internet. I will talk to you about whatever you want when I see you in person. I will not talk to you about this on the internet.
Yep.
She invoked the death of my child. She said horrific things about what could happen to my family. I've seen her since then. She has not spoken to me, and I will not allow her to even hold my child until she apologizes.
Yeah.
That is a horrific thing that you would say to somebody because you don't agree with a particular policy that I have. The video that I shared was about pilots being fired for not getting vaccinated.
Yeah.
The tirade that I experienced after that was ridiculous, and is not something that I will allow to be around my family, because if that is how you will act in the face of logical information being presented to you, I'm not going to have it around.
Yep.
It's not because I want to hold a grudge against you. It's not because any of that type of shit. It's because if you
Because you're crazy.
Because you're crazy. Because that's a crazy thing to think. That's
Yep.
a crazy way to act. For us to have known each other for this amount of time, spent this amount of time together, and for you to be twisted like that, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Yep.
I will not. I will not have that around my family. If that is how you will act in the face of craziness, absolutely not.
Yeah, because I took a kind of a alternate like point of view on how to live my life at that point, because when the mask mandates came down, right, I was business owner at the time and not going to play that fucking game.
Right.
Not going to do that. So we didn't do that, and that's what we did, and that's how that worked.
And we didn't wear them at work either.
I said, if you wanted to wear one for whatever reason, I'm not going to hold it against you. I'm not going to judge you. You just do your thing. But there's no mandates here. The mandates are for how I run my company and what we do during the day, blah, 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 because we're running a company. This is how things are going to go. And there was a select few stores, like especially during like the worst of times when like most places were closed and shit like that.
Yeah.
If I had to go to a place, I would not go there if they had a mask mandate. Period.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't go.
Would avoid those
because I'm
places.
just
I
going to
remember
avoid
that.
them.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes like, you kind of had to, and then you did the obligatory like fucking neck gaiter across the nose or whatever. But
Yeah.
I just didn't go to those places because I'm like, I'm not going to give you my money
Yes.
because you're crazy, and that's how that works. And you're not going to get forgiveness from me for othering me, depersoning me, trying to force me out of society, telling me that you're going to fire me because I don't get a fucking mandatory injection.
Right.
I mean, and then fucking turn around months later, a year later, whatever it is, and just be like, well, my body, my choice, bitches. That's how this works.
Yeah.
What did I say during the time? Fuck you. No, you don't get to be okay with this because you decided that it was better for everybody involved to not think for themselves, not look at the data available, and make your own fucking decision. I sided with liberty, and if you chose to side with the authoritarians who told you what to do and provided zero evidence or contradictory evidence to what we knew at the time, if that's the tack you took, you're not getting a fucking forgiveness letter from me. No, right. You need to forgive. You need to fucking apologize to me because you tried to throw me out of society. You othered me, and you said I didn't exist anymore, and that I was a bane on society's existence.
Plague rats.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
I've seen this work throughout history multiple times. I'm a fan of history. I know how this has gone down. You don't get to do that, and it's not going to be okay going forward because we've done this before, and now everybody's already brainwashed now to think that this is just going to be normal.
This is how it is. People here are still wearing masks.
Yes.
I went into Walmart today behind a couple still wearing N95 masks. Today. And I thought I will give them a 10% credit, right? Mm-hmm. Because in the world of post-COVID, I think the mask thing took a little bit of the stigma or the separation we had from somewhere like Japan, where like if you're sick,
wear a mask.
You need to go somewhere, wear a mask. And that's not like a weird thing.
No, it seems nice.
I don't think that's like a weird thing. I think if you're wearing it as an everyday precaution to go to the store, you're not acting within logic. There's a difference here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
The ones now where I still see them like with gloves and a face shield.
And that shit still happens.
What's
here.
going on?
That still happens here.
I saw it like 2 weeks ago.
From the difference between talking to someone like Larry, when he said he walked into a store, and Larry is in Oklahoma. Larry walked into a store, someone asked him to put a mask on, and he walked out as opposed to putting one on, and they said, no, it's okay. And asked him to come back in even though he wasn't going to put a mask on.
I want your money, please.
And here, they will ask you to leave. Mm-hmm. Not anymore. The people won't ask you to leave anymore. But when I went into... There are still signs on doors. You know what I'm saying? Even if they're not doing that, even if none of the employees are still there, the signs are still on the doors. Because at any moment in time, pretty much,
if
it pops back off.
Yep. And the damage these people have done to our society as a whole is so immeasurable. Like, we're looking at our kids now and, like, the youth and their learning loss or whatever. Who would have thought that was going to happen except for everybody that said it was going to happen at the fucking time?
They told you that. There was people telling you that you banned from the internet.
Yes. And now you're like, well, we didn't know what was going to happen. Like, no, we had the numbers at the time.
Right.
We argued against this because of what it was going to do to the children. And now look at this. Not to mention the mental aspects of things. Jesus.
And like, why are all these kids being homeschooled?
Yeah. Why? I wonder why.
Fucking terrible. And at any moment in time, you could cancel school again.
Yeah. And at that point too, we also it was a twofer because then we found out what they were actually teaching those kids. Hey-oh, that didn't end so well.
Being able to be at home and hear the shit that was coming out of the computers.
Parents having to be at home because they could not send their kids to school.
Yes.
So that completely changed how work went. And now we have this giant fucking quiet quitting thing, and everybody wanted to work from home, and blah blah blah.
People upset at
societal
Elon because
change.
He's asking people to come back to work.
Oh my God, heaven fucking forbid you have to go to work.
How could
do you remember when
come to work?
You got a job and then you went to that job to go work and then you went home? You remember those days? Right. That was normal.
I actually never stopped going to work.
Yeah.
I actually continued to work the whole time.
There was a 2-week period where as a company, we had to shut down, if you will.
Before the state was like, yeah, you guys are good.
Yeah, because, all the organizations, the institutions in the construction industry were like, you can't do this because you're going to fucking destroy the entirety of the country, the state at this point.
Right.
Everybody's going to go out of business. Everybody's going to lose their job. Blah, blah. You can't do this. We need to be able to work. We all fucking work outside. We build fucking houses. We work outside. And eventually, after 2 weeks, they're like, okay, yeah, you can go back to work. But also, you need a log now. You need to do this. You need to do that.
Adding extra steps to people coming in and out of work sites and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, checking in and doing this and doing. It was so fucking stupid. Which one or two, a couple of people actually took seriously, but they became a pariah in the industry instantly, which was hilarious. But and even during that time, I was like, you can't tell me that I can't work, so I'm just going to work from my house and then just keep working because that's how this is going to go. You're not going to stop my life because you think it's a bad idea to live this way.
Right. And
then if you give me a hard time to do this, I'm not going to forgive you for that in the future. Period. I'm not an idiot. It's not like we talked a lot about it. Like if this was bubonic plague, nobody would fucking go out because everybody would be dying when nothing was happening except you rounded up all the olds and you put them all together. You put all the sick olds together so they can all die. And then you told all their families that they couldn't go see them during their funerals or be there at their bedside when they died. Fuck you. You don't get to be forgiven for that.
Right.
There was zero logic involved. You didn't think about it at all, and you ruined people's lives. You don't get to come back from that. This is a lesson you need to learn, and you need to be branded with the fucking what's that?
Scarlet A.
The scarlet. Yeah. You get
letter.
a scarlet fucking letter because you're an idiot, and you ruined people's lives because you were too terrified to think clearly.
Your scarlet A is for authoritarian, not adulterer.
Yeah. Amen. No, if you did not side with liberty, you have things to answer to. And the devastation is, look the fuck around. Inflation's at record high. The kids are fucking ruined for an entire generation. You have a massive amount of people that are going to... I can't talk about it because it's on YouTube, but you have hundreds of... Well, probably not hundreds of millions, but you have tens of millions of people that are going to have issues at some point with one thing or another because they did a thing that you made them do. There's no coming back from that because you were too drunk with power and decided you knew better than everybody else. And you and you had the power to run people out of town, find them into oblivion if they didn't do what you told them to do when you were fucking wrong and we knew it from the get-go. Fuck you. There's no amnesty involved here, dude. You don't get a fucking take back what you did. So yeah, no COVID amnesty for you.
No.
None at all. Fuck you. How many people's fucking families were torn apart, dude? How many people's lives were completely ruined? How many people don't have a fucking living anymore because of this? Hundreds of thousands of people that had businesses that they relied on lost their fucking houses, lost their jobs. All the employees that worked for them. Everything, dude. Things weren't bad enough already? Come on. No, you don't get a fucking free pass for this. You don't get a free pass. Hey everybody, Colin here from Salt the Streets. Thank you for watching today's edition of Salty Shortz. If you liked what you saw, please be sure to check out the full episode right here on the Salt of the Streets YouTube channel. Please give us a like, comment, subscribe, and be sure to share this with all your friends. And you too can become a spreader of the message of liberty. Thanks.
Welcome to the Salt of the Streets, coming at you every week with this food for thought. Hope you ready.